Let's explore the best meditation for manifesting good fortune. This morning's lesson is drawn from Green Heroine's Easy Dzogchen, inspired by Dzogchen Rinpoche's Final Meditation Manual. The portion or the section of the practice text or sadhana can be described with the following words, wherein we bring the experience of the four bases of mindfulness into the conventional path of love and letting go, where it is love that is emphasized. What do we mean by the four bases of mindfulness? Well, that's a reference to the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. I would love to tell you that I was so brilliant that I invented that myself, but I'm not. The Buddha spoke of that way back in the Anapanasati Sutta. So this is known by many names, this being the idea of bringing the four bases of mindfulness into the path of love and letting go. This could be described in English as generation or creation stage. In Sanskrit as Tantra Mahamudra or Mahayoga, and in Tibetan as Tokal or leaping over jealousy, kind of like pole vaulting, really. So during this lesson, we're going to focus on just one of the bases of mindfulness, the circumstantial. And that makes sense. I mean, after all, we're living in late stage capitalism, where it is very, very cutthroat and very, very predatory. And it has been rightly observed by those more wry than myself that humans are the only species that have to pay to live on Earth. So it should come as a little surprise that when it comes to manifesting, one of the two most frequent things people try to manifest is circumstantial well-being. Most people aren't greedy. They just want to be able to have food, shelter, clothing, medical care, education, and sustainable employment. And the funny thing is that in most industrialized nations, that's not an issue. The government uses the taxpayers' money in a way that benefits the 99%, as opposed to benefiting exclusively the 0.05% to the exclusion of everybody else. Now, there are a bunch of people who really take exception to manifesting, and they say it's materialistic and it's worldly, and they get very sanctimonious, and they say, hey man, the only reason you do that is because you fail to understand emptiness and you believe in a self. No, it's not. Evolution has wired us to hate scarcity and long for material sustainability. The question is not whether we have a fully functioning central nervous system. The question is, are we aware of our drives and our impulses, and what are we going to do about it? Simply putting our hands over our eyes and saying, I see no drive to have my financial needs met, it's not spiritual. And pretending it's not there or repressing it isn't the key. So there are two wonderful ways to look at it. In a few days, we'll look at, most likely tonight, we'll look at a way of letting go. But right now, we're going to use the tool of love and mindfulness and meditation. Before we do that, we have to use a disclaimer. The reason we have to is that the majority of teachers out there are quoting Sturgeon's law below, and not in a fun, tingly way. So let's chant. Those who tread that path of Deva taught to squander time and energy with contrivances of visualization, emotion, magic, and belief. Upon this path of the Buddha, we simply recite these words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Great. So that's a good disclaimer that. So let's jump right into it. Let's apply our own advice right now. Together. So we're going to start with loving wish. And love here is not about what we emote. It's simply about intention. And we guide intention with our words. During my first 3-year retreat, that was really hammered into me that words guide intention, intention guides mind, mind guides energy, energy guides circumstance. So that sequence was really hammered into me during my first 3-year retreat. Together, we're going to chant just the first couplet. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon. So we're using words to guide our loving intention. In this case, that all circumstances, and we throw in a monosyllabic synonym because if that can be useful at times. So may all circumstances of all beings everywhere, real or imagined, now have the good fortune or boon. So now we're going to use a simile. Now a simile is just a reverse engineered version of a metaphor. So there's 2 things. Number 1, I use similes because metaphors can be confusing. Consider this. Consider 3 statements, if you will. John is tenacious. That's a literal statement. Let's turn that into a simile. John is as tenacious as a dog with a bone. All right, that's a apropos simile. It's not terribly vegan, but we can all relate to it. And now we convert that simile into a metaphor. John is a dog with a bone. Now, there are some people who are conditioned to be rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. And on that path, they tend to be very literal. But is John really a dog? Does he really prance about on all 4, striving to sniff the tushes of strangers? Because, in polite society, that really is frowned upon. So, to avoid needless confusion, I habitually reverse engineer metaphors back into similes. So now that we've got the technique, let's look at the motive. All complex life forms on this planet evolved to think symbolically. Think back to the primordial ocean. Our distant ancestors were very, very, very small entities living at the bottom of the sea. First, we perceived food sources and danger sources. And we evolved instinctive responses to them. In time, and over a great ocean of time, we evolved the ability to recall past perceptions and anticipate or imagine possible future perceptions. And that is why we say that we evolved to think symbolically. Our ability to emote, intend, reason, recall, and imagine is all predicated upon our ancient ability to perceive. That's why we play with similes and metaphors. And the similes we're going to play with right now begin with the word as. Let's chant. Well, actually, let's get momentum and begin back at may. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or Vanti. Now, 2 things. My friends who are not into superstition, I place my hands in the puckered palm position in front of my sternum, not because I'm praying to a real or imagined entity, because it simply helps to coalesce my real or imagined subtle energy in the central channel in this way. Number 2, The use of the word may is not a supplication to a real or imagined entity. It's a way of guiding our own intention. Remember, words lead intention, intention leads mind, mind leads energy, energy leads matter. If you don't believe energy leads matter, then play with magnets. And you'll say, oh, yeah, energy does. If you have two magnets and one's on your desktop and one's in your hand, and you either your magnet will pull the magnet in your hand can pull the magnet in your desk towards you or repel it away from you. Energy affects matter. This isn't superstition. We're no longer in the Iron Age. We're living in the Silicon Age. We are ruled by electricity, and metaphorically speaking, we're ruled by our smartphones and our laptops and our TVs and whatnot. So, yes, energy leads matter. So there's nothing superstitious here. We're just using gestures and words and similes and love. We're taking our own natural desire for circumstantial good fortune. We are supercharging it with love. We are further supercharging it with simile. Having done that, we turn our attention now to both mindfulness and meditation. Let's begin with mindfulness. The easiest way to access our sympathetic nervous system, which has already evolved to notice things vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly, is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation. And the easiest and most effective way to practicing the meditation which physically relaxes and mentally releases is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease, which functions as a synonym of relax during each exhalation. Let's do that right now. As we sit here, we might notice specific objects we wish to increase in our life. And to call that desire, we might notice specific fears or dreads we wish not to experience. Our job is simple. Practice of vulnerability as we inhale, relax as we exhale. Relax doesn't mean shove away. It means the only thing we are trying to transcend is our resistance to the present moment. I'm reminded of the Canticle Against Fear, written by Frank Herbert of Dune fame. I shall paraphrase it for you. I must not fear. Fear is little death that brings obliteration. I will face my fear. I will allow it to pass through me and over me and around me. I will turn to see my fear is gone and only I remain. So our fears or our desires may last several minutes. They might last just a few seconds. That's not our job to control our experience. What then is our job? To notice our experience and relax into our experience. And here's the weird thing. Doing so causes us to harmonize with our autonomic nervous system in a way that makes our life as blissful as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise. I look forward to chanting and meditating with you even more after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have studied, practiced, and mastered and reverse engineered the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism pretty much as a full-time job, so that you wouldn't have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So the contemporary practice of Dzogchen consists of bliss and letting go, awareness and letting go, as well as love and letting go. In this tradition, we use the idea of green heroin not as a real entity to be supplicated or worshipped, but as an archetype whose iconography reminds us of our own inherent potential to rapidly and easily master the Buddha's path. Our first chant is designed to exercise the neural pathways responsible for empathy and enthusiasm. And to do that, we're going to utilize two recitations. The first recitation is more literal, and we set it to a quasi-triplet chant. Please join me. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. The second of two recitations is more concise and more figurative. We set it to a bookend chant, and we intend to chant it for 3 repetitions. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. May all master letting go and love, as well as kind communication, conduct, and calmness. May all master the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity, as well as mindfulness and meditation. And that, my friends, is the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Having chanted, we now rest the mind. So let's dig a little deeper. Let's dig a little deeper into mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we access the sympathetic nervous system. Located not within the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears, it is found in the thoracic region of our spinal cord, which of course corresponds with our rib cage. It evolved to indulge or to support neither extreme of mind blanking or active concentration, but instead to merely notice and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. The price of mindfulness is vulnerability. Perhaps that is why this meditational archetype is depicted as naked. Well, if we're not supposed to actively concentrate upon our breath, then what is our relationship to our breath? Our relationship to our breath is like that of a piano student to their metronome. When we notice our body breathing in, we could silently and mentally recite the 12 syllables, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. When we notice our body exhaling, We could silently and mentally recite an additional 12 syllables, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. This is clunky, but it's our introductory exercise. So our next exercise is going to be trimmed down by 66%. I take that back, by 75%. Let's jump in. Now let us begin contemplating the iconography of this archetype. And in a few, probably next week, we'll begin digging deeper into the iconography in our opening lessons. We taste now our first experience of the exercise known as bliss and letting go, in Sanskrit known as Anu Yoga or Bindu Mahamudra, and in Tibetan known as Bindu, which could be described or translated as channels, winds, and drops. Together, let's chant. I and all living beings as excessive on space have had our crowns of white lotus and moon seed. As promised, we're now going to chant in a way using only 3 syllables. But first, let's review something. During our inhalation, we are wired to notice things. Well, what are we wired to notice? We're wired to notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, as well as emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We're wired to notice the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. Now, the very understandable response to that is, what do I do with all this stuff? And the answer is meditation. You see, every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we access the parasympathetic nervous system. It too is ensconced within the spinal cord, but this time in both the lower lumbar region as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. It evolved to both physically to support both our physical relaxation as well as our mental release. So let's explore this by way of figurative language. Every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation can now begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void, as if it was as non-graspable is the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand. Perhaps that is why, in various tapestries, this meditational archetype is depicted as of being translucent, comprised of light, and utterly non-graspable. So I promised we would only work with 3 syllables during this exercise, so the easiest way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite sitting tall during our inhalation, thus reminding our body to generate a vertical traction between our tuchus and our head. The most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the verb relaxing during each exhalation. Let us return to our contemplation. Upon this lotus and moonseed from Tama rises the archetype green Tata. Her body is comprised of green light. She has 2 hands and 1 face. Her right hand resting on her right knee is in the giving mudra. Her left hand is at her heart with the ring finger and thumb pressed together, holding the stem of the blue Utpala flower which blossoms at her left ear. Let's take another look at meditation. A fringe benefit of mindfulness and meditation is this. Well, let's jump back for a second. Most teachers in the tradition of Devadatta instruct their people to practice concentration and contemplation. These things cause our blood to pool at our amygdala, the seat of aggression and anxiety. In view of this crankiness, some people say, now we need to concentrate and contemplate empathy. But that further just causes blood to gather at their cranky amygdala. However, when we replace concentration with mindfulness, when we replace contemplation with meditation, the blood that was formerly congesting around our amygdala now causes our anterior cingulate gyrus to light up, just a few centimeters behind our forehead. It functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. This happens effortlessly and automatically. Perhaps that is why the highest Dzogchen Lamas have insisted that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. Perhaps that is also why this meditational archetype is depicted as beautiful. During this exercise's practice of mindfulness, during our inhalation, let's switch to notice this, relaxing. Let's chant. She is peaceful, smiling, and fully mentioned, adorned with all the precious garments and ornaments. Her left foot is tucked in and her right foot is slightly extended. In preparation for the inevitability of death, on top of her head appears the Nirmanakaya form of Amitabha. We now reduce the duration of our meditation even further. During our inhalation, we practice mindfulness simply by silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this. And during our exhalation, we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease, which functions as a synonym of relax. Consider, if you will, the active manner in which we see Tata sporting in tantric union. This reminds us that spontaneity trumps contrivance. When we observe the passive manner in which Amagosadi enjoys the same tantric union or karma mudra, we are reminded that not all spontaneity is created equal and that it is centered spontaneity that trumps scattered spontaneity. This centered spontaneity. So when our choices, utterances, and deeds flows from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, our life can be very much like the real or imagined paradise of a Buddha. Let's meditate. Now that we've reached contemplative cruising altitude, together as a team, let us meditate as transformatively as Obi-Wan Kenobi upon the sands of Tatooine under the guidance of the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn. There are many teachers greedy for wealth or fame or both. So allow me to tell you something that's very unpopular. The greatest offering we can make our teacher is to simply apply his or her instructions pertaining to the conventional truth of awareness and the ultimate truth of release. So let's practice this symbolically. Let's offer solar plex wisdom, thoughts lucid yet as non-graspable as a void. Om Shamatara Dharme Pati Sohum Soha. whom lets offer hot wisdom, feelings sensual, yet as not graspable as a void. Shamatara pashe patiso soha. Wrong button. Drumlets offer navel wisdom, taste flavorful, yet as not graspable as a void. Shamatara se patiso soha. Three-lets off her throat, wisdom sounds resounding, yet as not graspable as a void. Shamatara Vini Patiso Soha. Others offer wisdom's Others offer womb wisdom, sense fragrant, yet as not graspable as a void. Shamatara Gande Patiso Soha. Let's offer crown wisdom, that sights appearing, yet as not graspable as a void. Shamatara Adarshe Patiso Soha. And now let's rest the mind. Now let us touch upon that which we explored during our opening lesson. Let us bring the experience of the four bases of mindfulness into the conventional path of love and letting go, where it is love that is emphasized. Those who tread that together, those who tread that path of Devadatta's quantum time and energy with contrivances of visualization, emotion, magic, and belief. Upon this path of the Buddha, we simply recite these words in harmony with all breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. May all minds of all beings know be as peacefully wise as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a tikle one syllable seed or bija mantra. May all relationships of all beings know be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddhist communication symbolized by this 10-syllable mantra. May all bodies of all beings now enjoy the beautiful, healthy, and Buddhist art, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Deva or Yidam and archetype of enlightenment such as Green Tara. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land of Vati. Now let's view letting go through a physiological lens, as we bring the experience of the four bases of mindfulness into the ultimate path of love and letting go, where it is letting go that is emphasized. This could be described as leaping over pride. Those who tread that path of Devata are caught in the thrall of rigidity, confuse metaphors for literal statements. Upon this path of the Buddha, we relax into flexibility, savoring the chants that explain these metaphors as similes. So here comes the physiological component. As we inhale, all circumstances or loss could appear quite vivid. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined paradise or body of light. As we inhale, all bodies or forms could feel quite sensual. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined archetype or yet of light. As we inhale, the interpersonal experience of communication or speech could sound quite resounding. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined mantra of light. As we inhale, we could notice all minds, perceptions, emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings quite clearly. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as not graspable or void as a real or imagined bija seedable of light. Now let us view letting go through a more philosophical lens as we bring the illusion of the horizontal duality of us and them into the dance of impermanence and interdependence known as Madhyamaka's yoga of inconceivability. All circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this body or form. All bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this communication or speech. All interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this mind. All minds could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light they could absorb into a vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although tantalizing to the eye could be not graspable to the hand. Let us chant the Dharani explaining this mantra's meaning. O Mama Jutara, swift and courageous, you drive away all fears with Tutare's meditation. Heroine fulfilling all age with Tutare's mindfulness, thus with the suitable Soha, may it be so. For the remainder of this morning's live stream, we're going to be bringing the spontaneous play of mind into the path of awareness and letting go. Which is known by many names, including Dzogchen's Great Completion Stage Tantra, Sutra Mahamudra, Ati Yoga, or in Tibetan, Treksha, which translates as slicing through the tyranny of dread and desire. So here's the key to really making mantra meditation meaningful. During our inhalation, we can silently and mentally recite relaxing into this. During our exhalation, we can physically relax as best we can while striving to chant these 10 syllables 4 times per breath. Om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa. Om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa. Om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa. Om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa, om dare du dare du re so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. Da de do da de do de so wa. dare do dare do re so wa. Om 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 Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa. Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa. Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa. Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa. Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa. Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa. Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa. Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa. Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa, Om Dane Dane Rizawa. Om dare du dare du re so wa. 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 The most efficient way to make the most of mantra meditation is to silently and mentally recite this italicized statement during our inhalation, relaxing into this. But what is this? This is whatever we notice, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Whatever sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, or the like, whatever emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, or imaginings just sort of cartwheel across the stage of our mind. As we exhale, we strive to physically relax as best we can while choosing to chant this 10-syllable mantra 4 times per breath. Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa. Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa, Om Tare Nare Nure Suwa. Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa. Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa. As we breathe in, we can practice mindfulness as we breathe in simply by silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this. We can practice meditation as we exhale simply by silently and mentally reciting the one-syllable verb ease, which functions as a synonym of relax. Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa. Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa. Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa. Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa, Om Dare Dare Dure Suwa. All right. May homos be as wise as taught us. May all speech be as loving as taught us. May all forms be as healthy as taught us. And may all lots be as fortunate as taught us. May every meditation teacher truly understand the Buddha's teachings and practice master as well as instruct them generously, lovingly, and wisely in the manner of scented spontaneity. May all meditation teachers spontaneously receive generous patrons, enthusiastic students, as well as devoted apprentices. And may many Dharma centers likewise be successfully planted, nurtured, and supported. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 hours or so, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.